It's already 1 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and just get started with some house cleaning type stuff. We normally have people coming in as just 10 minutes late, so I don't want to wait too much for everyone. But for those who don't know, my name is Derek Christian. I'm the owner of My Maid Service in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I am one of the principal partners in ISE, the Institute for Service Excellence. Today on the phone, we also have my brother, Shawn Christian. Say hi, Shawn, so people recognize your voice.
Hello, everyone.
Shawn owns My Maid Service in Dallas, Texas. For those who don't know, My Maid Service isn't a franchise. It's just the two of us. Although maybe someday we'll launch our empire and go nationwide. But for now, I have the two offices in Cincinnati, and Shawn's got two offices down in the Dallas area. And more specifically, his primary office is in McKinney, sort of the north part of Dallas. Dallas is one of those big, large areas. ISE does a series of free webinars. The first Wednesday of every single month, we do a webinar. Now, this month, we moved it to the second Wednesday because of New Year's. We figured that there wouldn't be very many people on the first Wednesday. And what we do on these webinars is just share some tips and advice for free. And we were kind of running a little light on ideas because we've done them for a while now. We decided to start a series we're calling Tools of the Trade. So for the next several months, each month we're going to talk about one of our favorite industry tools and how we use it, what we get out of it, et cetera. So this month we're going to talk about Home Advisor, which was previously known as Service Magic. In the future, we're going to have some other ones on things like the Orion Personality Testing Program, Constant Contact, just the stuff that we use in our business to make our business work and kind of share how we use it. Now, I'll give you a little bit of background on Shawn and I. Just a second here. Well, real quick before I get into the background part, most of you guys I recognize have been on our calls before, but if you haven't, we mute about the first 40 minutes of this call. Reason why is there's always somebody who's cleaning and forgets that they didn't mute the phone and turns on a vacuum in the middle, or someone comes up and asks them a question. If you are called in, we do unmute at the end for questions. At that point, we'll ask you to mute your own phone so we don't have to hear anything funny. The other thing is if you are online, there is the ability to ask questions through chat. We do have a moderator on the call. Her name is Cece, and she will break in occasionally if she sees a really interesting chat question because I'm trying to pay attention to my brother and the screen and don't always notice those chat messages. But Cece keeps an eye on that and will, if she feels it's appropriate, kind of break in and interrupt me. So go ahead and send your chat messages at any time to Cece, and she'll kind of be your voice if you need one. So a little bit of background. I actually acquired My Maid Service. It was a pre-existing company, which I bought in November of 2007. It had about $200,000 in revenue when I bought it. We're going to end this year at about $1.4 million in revenue, so it's been a pretty interesting ride. Shawn opened My Maid Service Dallas, I think it was the summer of 2008, right, Shawn?
Right, it was late summer.
Yeah, late summer 2008, maybe almost fall. And My Maid Service in Dallas started from scratch. And Shawn's going to end this year doing just over $1 million. And at this growth rate, he will probably do more in 2013 than I will because he's gone from 0 to $1 million in about 4 years, where I've gone from $200,000 to $1.2 million in 5 years. So he should lap me this year, something that he likes to point out to me on a regular basis. Both of us use Home Advisor pretty extensively and have from the beginning. In Cincinnati, Home Advisor's directly responsible for about 19% of my clients. When I pull a report out of Service CEO, it says about 19% of my clients came from there. Shawn said he gets about 33 to 34% of his clients from Home Advisor. Now, we say directly from Home Advisor because we also get anywhere between 6 to 10% of our business from referrals, and some of that referral business is somebody that we originally got through Home Advisor. So, but the pure numbers are, in Cincinnati, it's about 20% of my business. In Dallas, it's about a third of Shawn's business, and it's probably his #1 source of leads. Although now that he's been in business a little while longer and the search engines are finding him, his pure Google searches are starting to do a little better. But especially in the early years, it was your predominant form of advertising, right, Shawn?
Right. The first couple of years, you know, it was a kind of an expensive way for us to get started, but, you know, for our dollar, it was the most effective way just because, you know, I could spend lots of money on search engine optimization, but at the end of the day, Google's algorithms base a lot of where they place you on the time or the life that your website's been out actually online, and until you put in your time, you just don't rank very high no matter how much money you spend. So the first couple of years, I would say 50 to even 60% of our clients were Service Magic leads, and that's down to about 30% to 35% now, and I would imagine that's going to continue to go down a little bit as our website gains more traction.
Right. But like you said, especially in those early years, he was more like 50, 60%. So it's been a big part of both our businesses. And as you get bigger and you've got more marketing budget and can start doing direct mail and search engine optimization starts working on your behalf of being the older company, you start to get some more naturally. So what is Home Advisor? I want to give you guys a little bit of background that aren't familiar with them. Home Advisor basically helps advisors find trusted and screened vendors for all of their home care needs. They do everything from plumbers to electricians to guys to clean the ceiling. If it's something you would want done on a house, they probably offer it. As far as we're concerned, they're a lead generation service, though, let's be honest. What we get from them is a source of leads. And what you guys may not know is they're owned by a company called Interactive Corporation, which is owned by someone named Barry Diller. I've included a Wikipedia link if you're interested. But they own a lot of other companies, Super Pages, Insider Pages, City Search, Match.com, OkCupid, Ask.com, About.com. And one of the reasons why that matters is a lot of times when you work with Home Advisor, you get a lot of benefits on those other pages. And what you see at the bottom of this page is a list of partners that work with Home Advisor. Some of these are actually owned by the same corporation, like you do see CityGrid down there, but others such as Yahoo, they just have some partnership agreements with. But when you ask about how do they generate leads, how do they get people to your website, it's a combination of, or their website, it's a combination of search engine optimization. They do Google AdWords, but then they have agreements with places like Better Homes and Gardens to be on their website when people are looking there. So that's how they get their people in. And I'm going to run through this pretty quickly because some of you are familiar with it. But for those of you that aren't, this is sort of what it looks like when people land on Home Advisor. They get a screen where they pick which type of service they're interested in. And this is the landing page where they pick the category. And they would go to Interior Home Cleaning Maid Service. And you can see there's a bunch of different cleaning categories. And they give them a lot of cleaning categories because they want to help make sure that we get the right people. They don't want people who are looking for stone polishing coming to us. So they list a whole bunch of different categories. And first thing the homeowner does is pick the category they want. Then they put in their zip code, whether they're a home or business, which is important because not everyone does business work, whether they want reoccurring, one-time, move-out, or post-construction cleaning. If they want reoccurring service, how frequently are they going to do it? And then roughly how many square feet is the house? Ask them a question about timing and urgency. This is one of my favorite fields, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later on about leads and how all leads are not the same. And then how soon do they want this work done? Immediately, a couple weeks down the road, a month down the road. They then have to provide their contact information, and when they press submit, that's when the lead gets sent to us. And the leads can come to you in a variety of ways. You can have them emailed to you. They can come to you in the form of a text message. They can come to you as a phone call, or they can be all of the above. Just so you kind of get a feeling for it. This is one that we got on January 3rd at 3 p.m. Comes into our office, has the name of the consumer, their phone number, their email address, their address. This particular person's looking for recurring maid service. They want bi-monthly, size of their house, and planning and budgeting phase. Notice it doesn't say they're ready to hire. They're budgeting right now. Timing is flexible, and a little description of what they want in their house. They want their house cleaned twice a month, typical sort of maintenance cleaning. I have this set up so that it's emailed to me. I also get a call in my office, and the reason why is, as we're going to talk in a little bit, timing is really, really important on these things. And I don't want to count on me noticing the email. So whenever I get a lead, we get a little robocall in my office that goes, you have a new lead from Home Advisor, which lets my people know to pull it up in email. And then I also get it text to both me and my salesperson because there are times such as nights and weekends when neither of the above work, and we want to know right away that we got the lead. So we'll get into that a little bit more. Home Advisor offers two types of leads. They offer what's called market matches, and the idea behind a market match is it's sent to up to 4 companies. It doesn't always go to 4 companies. There are times when in Cincinnati it only goes to 2 companies, but it can be up to 4 companies. And then they offer what's called exact matches, which are sent only to you. And I'm explaining all this so that you guys kind of, when Shawn and I jump into the terminology in a few minutes, you'll know what we're talking about. And you can also set your budget on how much you want to spend and where you want to spend it. And I can show you guys the website here in a few minutes to give you some idea on it. So, Shawn, do you want to talk sort of some of your experience on what's worked for you on this?
What are you asking me exactly?
Well, as far as using Service Magic, do you typically do market matches, exact matches?
Just overall, yeah. We have a budget set for both, for the exact match and the market matches. You know, we typically look at the exact matches. Look, this is someone that's called us specifically, we really need to be closing 50% of those, 1 out of every 2. The market match leads, we really shoot for 1 out of 3.5 to 1 out of 4.
And exact matches are sometimes sent to you as a live transfer. Some of the folks from Service Magic actually asked to be on the call, and I'll unmute them later on, and they can probably explain why. But sometimes consumers actually call them directly, and they actually get transferred to us live, which is, of course, nice, because then you actually get them on the phone live.
That just happened to us yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So that's sometimes they come as emails, but exact matches in particular, sometimes will come to you live. You get a phone call. It's like, hi, this is Beth with Home Advisor. I've got somebody that wants a cleaning service next week. Can you take care of her? And you go, yeah, sure. And they transfer them to you. So one of the great things about Home Advisor is the targeting. You can decide what areas you want to target. You can turn your leads on and off at any time. And you can also set up multiple groups of leads. And what I mean by this, and this is where it gets easier to log into my account and show it to you, is you're now looking at my dashboard for Home Advisor. You can see in the last 7 days I got 11 leads from Home Advisor. Currently have a 4.28 ranking. Sean's got a 4.54, so he will point out that his company's got a better ranking than I do. So, yeah, bite me. So we've got 11 leads in the last 7 days. We're brothers. We're slightly competitive. And then when I go to the account view, I'm going to go to the overall account view so you can kind of see the dashboard that lets you control your leads. Sometimes it asks you to put in your password again if you've let it sit for too long, so just a second. Yes. All right. Sorry. There we go. So this is the overall dashboard view, and it will show you, in my case, what I buy and what zip codes I buy it for. So these are, I chose to buy cleaning service post-construction. This is how much I pay to get a market match lead. This is how much I pay to get an exact match lead. And then the metro areas that I do it in. And then I've got the maid service and recurring. And you can see I've got coverage area 1 and coverage area 2. If I wanted, I could set up 6, 7, 8 different coverage areas. And what a coverage area is basically a map that shows what zip codes and what areas I am getting. So actually, this is a zip code list. There is another tool. If I go back here, come on, go back to the beginning. Called this recommended area tool is one of my favorites because when I click on it, it's going to show me a map of the area, which will eventually load. Everything that's a blue star is going to be an area I currently service. Everything that's the red circle is an area that I do not currently service. And then if I click on one of those little blue circles, they're going to turn green, which means they're going to get added to my account. So Windows doesn't want to let me pull this map up, so give it a second here. I had to allow. It's always when you're on a call when this takes forever. So this is the greater Cincinnati area, and if there's anyone on the call from Cincinnati, you know my coverage footprint now. And you can see the blue stars are the area I cover. The red dots are the areas I've decided not to cover. And I can turn these on and off at any time. So say, for example, I lost some salespeople, or not salespeople, cleaners down here in the South Cincinnati area. I could turn all these little blue stars off. Or if I decided I wanted to expand, I could start clicking on these things. And it's pretty simple. You just click to turn it green, and now it's going to be added as a zip code that I cover. I can click it again to turn it off. And in my case, I've turned some of these on and off over time. So I'm going to add this new one to my coverage area, and now that new zip code is in my coverage area. Another thing which you can control with this, and one of the reasons why I like using Home Advisor, is I've got my market match target and my exact match target. I can turn this up or down at any time. Those of you that maybe have done contracts with some other companies, whether we're talking about Yodel or Angie's List or almost anyone, when you agree to spend $600 a month with them, you agree to spend $600 a month. Home Advisor, I can make it $800 this month because I've got some new techs, and then when we get busy in the spring, I can turn it down to a couple $100. Here's where I pick my methods of lead notification. And I can also turn my leads off. There's literally a switch, that little switch icon. I click on it and say, I'm going to be on vacation, and I don't want any leads from Wednesday now until when I get back next Tuesday, and press the button to turn the leads off. That's going to turn the leads off for that entire time that I'm gone, and then it will also turn it right back on. once you come back per that lead on date. So, for example, I turned it off over the Christmas season, not because necessarily I didn't have enough work going on, but just realistically, I didn't want to field the phone calls. So I turned it off over Christmas, and Shawn's actually gets a little more fancy than I do on this stuff. And you can see right now I owe him $237, which, considering I got 11 leads in the last week, doesn't bug me too much. So, Shawn, with sort of everything I ran through, what's your experience with some of the targeting and turning the money on and off and tips and tricks for this area?
Well, there's a couple things I want to talk about. First, you kind of glazed over the mapping a little bit. For me, in opening a second office, that's been extremely valuable, and here's why. And whenever we open a new office in a particular area, you know, I can't just go hire 6 people and have them ready to work at all times. So we find ourselves leveraging staff in our existing office to go and help in those other markets. I can turn on zip codes in my new market that are closer to or actually overlap a little bit with my existing market, so I can leverage my staff in my older office, and that really helped a lot, especially in planning for the new office and looking at DFW as a whole. It's an enormous area, and you know, we have plans for a 3rd office over the next year, and by kind of working with Service Magic and determining which zip codes are where gives us an idea of, you know, what cities we want to place our offices in and how they're going to benefit, you know, be able to help each other as the leads come in, because again, we're always going to be overstaffed or understaffed in a given market depending on, you know, people coming and going from our
also
employment.
on this page that we've got, there's a live help now, and if you do that live help now button and ask them, they will tell you how many leads they get in certain categories and certain zip codes.
Right. When we first went to Rowlett, we gave them our service area and said, this is what we're thinking of servicing. Can you give us an idea of the number of leads that you guys get? And they gave us a number for what they expected for the coming 30 days, I believe, and a running average for the last 12 months. So we had a very accurate idea of, okay, if we plug ourselves into this market, how many leads are we going to get if we have an unlimited budget? And then, of course, you know, we back into a number that works for us. But it gives us an idea of at least how much interest there is for our service in that area. What was the next part we were talking about?
Well, so, I mean, for those who don't get it, you don't all know Shawn's background, but this year he opened a new office in Dallas in another area called Rowlett. His main office is in McKinney. So instead of just jumping in blind, one of the first things we did is send an email to Service Magic saying, we'd like to go to Rowlett. Here's all the zip codes we're considering. And they told us how many requests they get, which helped Shawn narrow his area that he wanted to cover down. Is it the north part of the city, the south part of the city?
Right, and they can even narrow it down to zip codes. So I can turn on the hot zip codes and keep the not so hot zip codes turned off until, you know, we get our wheels greased and, you know, the engine's running and everything's running smoothly, and then we can start hitting some of the more difficult zip codes. So it worked really well for us in opening the new office.
For example, you guys probably noticed there's a city called Dayton just north of me in Cincinnati, and I'm opening an office there in January. So I have asked Service Magic, Home Advisor for a report on where leads come from there, because I'm trying to figure out where to open my office. I want to open my office geographically as close to my clients as I can to keep drive time down. So even though I'm not opening for another year, I've already asked them for this data, because it's a way for me to figure out, in this big, huge circle up here called Dayton, do I want to put my office down here in Miamisburg, up there in Huber Heights? Both of those are high-income neighborhoods, so I'm trying to figure out which one I want to go for. And so they're really helping me, and sometimes the leads come in places you don't necessarily expect. How about turning on and off your leads, Shawn? I know you do that with much more frequency than I do.
Yeah, I'm really crazy about that, and here's why. Unlike my brother, I am not a workaholic. I do not believe in working on weekends if you can help it. So every Friday night, as a religious thing, I turn off my leads and I do not turn them back on until Monday morning, because no one is answering the phone, and a Service Magic lead that you don't answer right away is a Service Magic lead that you're not going to get. That's pretty much been our experience. So leaving it on for those 2 days just makes no sense. And obviously, you know, when we're booked for a coming week, like the previous holiday weeks, when we knew we were booked solid, we turned our Service Magic leads off. There's no point in paying for leads when I cannot service them. I didn't have enough people, nor did I have enough time. So I use it a lot. And, you know, Service Magic can add up very quickly, and this is one of the key things that if you do not manage it, your bill will be a lot higher than you want it to be, and your closure rate will be a lot lower than you want it to be. So if you know that it's a time frame that you are not going to be able to answer the phone and, you know, get a quote back to that customer within 10 or 15 minutes, you need to turn it off and leave it off until you know you're going to be by the phone ready to take leads again.
Great. So yeah, Shawn, like he said, is much more fanatical about that. I actually take leads over the weekend and get little texts on my cell phone and sneak to the bathroom when I'm on dinner with my wife and quote jobs and get in trouble. But that's because I find I get really good close rates on the weekends because people like Shawn turn their leads off. So it's a lifestyle choice, both of which work. But Shawn's choice is he's decided he doesn't want to mess with it on the weekend. He's growing like mad anyway, so why bother with it? So he turns it off every single Friday, turns it back on every single Monday. Once again, I don't know any other form of advertising where I can make it that specific and say, you know what, I don't want calls on the weekend. Just don't want
Well, and to be fair, there's a methodology in place for you and I to do this together where someone's answering the phone for the both of us, I would be happy to do that. But right now, the person who answers the phone is me. I don't want to make that leap on a Saturday and Sunday if I can help it.
Okay. I haven't seen any questions come across, CC. If you got anything, feel free to cut in. So, nope. All right.
We've had a couple of questions about, because you showed an example of bidding on recurring service only, and a couple folks have asked you bid on different variations of services.
Yeah, Home Advisor lets you pick what you want a bid on. There are a variety of categories, and let me see if I can find this. I always forget.
Just to butt in really quick, I never bid on one-time cleans. It's recurring service or I'm not interested.
Right. These are the categories which I bid on. I do janitorial for business because I have a commercial cleaning business, maid service recurring, post-construction cleanup, and post-construction cleanup for business. Now, that being said, they've got a bunch of different categories. You can choose blind and window cleaning, carpet cleaning, maid service one-time cleaning. I choose not to do these categories, and you can see as I move my little cursor over it, it tells me what the current rates are. And the rates are a range because they use a little bit of a bidding system, just like Google AdWords and guys like that. So if a lot of people jump on, the rates will occasionally go up. So you got to kind of keep an eye on it. But for me, it is $12.35 to get a one-time lead, and it's $12.35 to get a recurring lead. Actually, no, it's more like $20 for recurring right now. You see how it's arranged? So for me, recurring service is less than 2 times the price of a one-time, so I don't bid one time. Now, that being said, if I had a big, fat, ugly hole in my schedule next week that I had to fill, I might temporarily turn that on real briefly, but only very rarely. But you do get to target. You can kind of see these are all the cleaning categories that they offer. And I'll tell you, do really good with this post-construction cleaning. So it's been a great category for me. And yes, we keep saying Service Magic sometimes. Home Advisor changed their name in December, so we're not quite used to it yet. It's been Service Magic for like 7 years. So we're still
just be aware that you know which category charges what, because I know post-construction is a little more expensive. Anything commercial is also a lot more expensive.
Yeah, commercial jobs are substantially more expensive. I'm currently paying about $20 for a lead for a recurring maid service, and it's about $34 for a commercial job. What other questions you got, CC, so far?
Now that the folks have seen that there's a difference in the names, they want to know what the difference in services are, and I think you're going to get to that in a bit.
Well, yeah, you can also ask, at the end of the day, what you see is what the consumer sees, so it's how the consumer defines it. So maid service reoccurring is reoccurring maid service one time is maid service one time. Consumers self-select on this stuff. So when you look at it, you got to think, what's a consumer going to check when they see it? It's not like I can tell you a really, really defined definition of it. We're kind of jumping ahead a little bit. Sometimes you do get a bad lead because people sometimes classify themselves wrong. For example, I do occasionally get leads for people looking for a non-medical in-home care person to help mom out. And they pick maid service because it's the closest thing they can think of because they want someone to clean, but they also want someone to cook and do errands and give her a bath. Those aren't valid leads because I don't offer that service. And I can go in through Home Advisor and request a credit and say, hey, she's really looking for in-home medical care. And they will credit me and then reroute that lead to the appropriate company. So I can't tell you that when you pick this, you're only going to get that. But I can tell you when people go in, those are the options they're given. And if they paid me a whole bunch of money to consult with them, which I'm happy to do, I'm not sure I could give them any better categories. So maid service reoccurring, maid service one-time, post-construction cleaning, maid service business. To me, it's pretty self-explanatory, but we still get some bogus leads in sometimes. And I will tell you, you do get people who pick recurring service that really only want one time because they think you're going to give them a better price. So, but you know what? They do the same thing when they call your office. So it's not really a problem with them. It's just consumer behavior.
Okay.
Any other questions?
We do have a number of questions coming in. Want to try to give you kind of the highlights of them because I think you may be covering some of the answers.
Yeah, we're going to hit some later on. So I was just looking. We're flying through some of this stuff. So if, like on the targeting stuff, I've confused you. I want to give you a chance to shoot some questions. You guys asked about pricing. The pricing I'm showing you on the page is what I pay in Cincinnati, Ohio. Rates do vary by area, but these are the 4 categories that I buy and what I have been paying for leads in those categories. So that was a question that came in. You can see market match versus exact match for maid service, commercial cleaning, how much I pay. And like Shawn said, it's about 50% more, and post-construction cleaning. I can tell you the commercial cleaning is very infrequent. Home Advisor is set up for people that own homes. So it's very infrequent that I get a commercial cleaning lead, but they do come across every once in a blue moon. And the single best account I ever got from Home Advisor is Gold Key Homes. I cleaned 18 model homes for them once a week, and that was a Home Advisor lead. Unfortunately, it only lasted 2 years till the economic crisis hit, and now I only clean 2 model homes for them. But for about 2 years, it was a $50,000 a year account, which came off of a $30 lead. So that gives you guys sort of an idea of the cost and spread. The vast majority of what you get on Home Advisor is maid service, either one-time or recurring. They created some of these other categories largely because of feedback from us, because we'd get mad when we got a janitorial lead and we didn't do janitorial. So they created a category for it.
Okay. Some of the other questions, Derek, have to do with the difference between Home Advisor versus web optimization. Do both or do one or the other. Another one has to do with, if you do estimates over the phone, does Home Advisor interrupt that or benefit that? Okay. And how you figure out what size coverage area you get to choose for that.
Sounds good. Well, we'll jump into all that in just a second here. So I'm going to jump forward just one more slide to talk some of the tips and tricks to making it work. And Shawn, I'm going to read these off, but then these are all based on sort of what you told me and my experience. Okay. As Shawn said, it's best to call the leads as soon as you get them. Remember, up to 4 companies get these leads, and typically the first person to quote them is the first person to get them. You also want to get reviews from the client. I'm going to cover this in more detail later on, but Home Advisor lets you build a profile page, and when they get leads from 4 companies, just like when they go on Google, if you've got 54 reviews and they're all 5 stars and the other guys don't have any, helps you get better pricing. This one's really important. You want to stay in regular contact with the leads because, as I was showing you earlier, there is something in the nature of a web lead that is different than what people are used to behaving. When people submit a lead over the internet, they are often a lot earlier in their process. And I'll give you sort of a specific example. In my case, my wife and I looked at hiring a cleaning service when we first moved to Cincinnati. Back then, it was on the internet. We got a lot of quotes and didn't do anything at the time because, to be honest, it was a lot more expensive than we expected, and we never moved forward with it. Then we had a baby 2 years later, and all of a sudden $90 to get our house cleaned didn't seem so ridiculous. And it's sort of the same. When someone picks up the phone and calls you, they're basically ready to book because they're expecting you to sell them and maybe push them a little bit. So when they pick up, they're basically ready to book. They're just trying to decide who to book. The people on the internet are often a lot earlier in the process. They're curious what it costs. They don't even know what a residential cleaning service costs. They don't even know if it's in their budget yet. As a result, often with these guys, you've got to stay in contact with them for quite some time. And as Shawn was saying, we typically close 1 out of 4 up front, but I will close up to another 20% within the next 18 months if I stay in contact with them. But I have to stay in contact with them, email, keep hitting them ongoing.
Yeah, we found that as well, to interrupt really quickly. I can't stress how important it is if you're just using a simple email program or a simple reminder program to just send them a note, ask how things are going, even if they chose to go with another service, because very often that other service, for whatever reason, didn't work out. And they're looking for an excuse to leave. And when you show them 6 or 8 or 10 months later that, hey, I still have your name and number, and we're still thinking about you, why don't you give us a call if things aren't working out? They will. They will give you a call. And it is pretty easy to pick up another 20%, like you were saying.
And Shawn and I don't use this because we have our own customer relationship management software. But for those of you that aren't familiar with it, Home Advisor actually has some really cool tools built in to help you with this under the Lead tab. So you can, from the Lead tab, I'm waiting for it to open up. Why is the internet always slow when I'm on a webinar?
Because 100 people are looking at your computer.
Yeah, I know. All of a sudden it doesn't want to behave and move where it's supposed to move when it's supposed to move. But basically, if this lead tab will ever open for me, there we go. On the lead tab, it's going to show all of my leads. And by the way, this shows all of my leads. I can pull leads from 2008 on this thing. It has everyone I have ever talked to, all 1,793 leads I've ever gotten from HomeAdvisor. So that's how many people, when people ask, Derek, how do you have a database with 8,000 emails? Well, guess what? About a quarter of them came from here. I can come over here, and there's History tab. And this History tab tells me that Jessica got a message and then Jessica was submitted it, but I can also send her emails from here. I can send her an email requesting an appointment. I can send her an email asking for feedback. I can send her an email informing the customer I'm running late. I can send an email requesting just about anything. And they've got some other great tools in here. I have to play with this a little bit. They've got some filters and reports where I can assign these to various people. I can mark what stage they're in. Am I selling them? Have I sold them? Have I won them? Have I lost them? All this type of stuff. And like I said, this goes way, way back. If I put the filter on just for jobs, just for these closed jobs, for example, just to give you an idea, because I bought a CRM application, so I don't do this in HomeAdvisor anymore. But you can see back in 2008, these are all the jobs that I won when I first started using the application. And if you go to a little history tab, it's got the history that, you know, what went on, that he was presented our information, he asked me to contact him, he provided feedback. Hopefully this was good feedback. So you can see all that type of stuff. You can see that he looked at my profile. So at 9:32, my profile was looked at, probably to check his own feedback and make sure he liked it. So they've got some really kind of cool ability to do that stuff within the actual leads. So they've got, I'm not going to get into too much detail because they've got some information on their website how to use it. But if you don't have software to do this, whether it's Constant Contact or Infusionsoft or Sugar CRM or Zoho CRM, there are some customer relationship management tools built right into it, particularly when it comes asking for reviews. And reviews were going to be one of my next slides, but we'll get to that in a second. Any other tips you can think of, Shawn?
No, that's pretty good.
Okay. Okay, reviews. You want to ask for reviews for your HomeAdvisor clients, and you want to do it for a couple different reasons. Makes it more likely that you get more HomeAdvisor leads. And real simple, I'm going to go back to my HomeAdvisor and see if I can get back to my home page. I'm lost where I'm at, sorry. Too many screens. I've got myself confused. You guys can't see it, but there's controls for the WebEx that sit on top of this, so I got to move it so I can see the rest of my screen. So you can see that I've got 36 reviews. And by the way, the only people that can do a HomeAdvisor review are people that put in a HomeAdvisor lead, which means I've got a name, address, and phone number for them. And I have actually challenged them before when I thought it was a competitor, and HomeAdvisor's taken it down. Not many people do that. I am also allowed to respond when there's a negative review and explain to people what's going on. For example, this is a client that was January 21st, 2012, and was upset with some of the dusting. She actually says in her little note that she did a walkthrough and everything looked good when we were there, but it looked bad the next day. And I say, yes, well, welcome to winter in Cincinnati. When it's gray outside, you can't see the dust. Neither can we, so call us and we'll come back and fix it. Gives us a chance to explain what was going on, what happened to it, et cetera. You can see most of ours are pretty good. And as we were talking about on reviews, they've got this little button called Request Ratings, and they make it really easy to get ratings. Because I know this is something that people get hung up on sometimes, is how do you get these ratings? And it will pull up a little app that lets me pick the person who I've got a lead from and send them a form letter, and that form letter's got a button on it that says leave a rating right now. It'll pull them right to a rating page. They don't have to log in. They don't have to do anything funny, and it'll make it very, very easy for people to give you a rating. And HomeAdvisor actually reminds you about this about once a month or so. They'll send you an email that says, here's all the people you got requests for. Would you like to send them a rating request? And you can check which ones you want to do. And one of the reasons why this is important, if you remember earlier, I showed all these different web pages out there. For example, superpages.com. So I pulled up house cleaning in McKinney, Texas, and you can see the first thing that pops up is My Maid Service. Yay, go team. And you can see there's a whole bunch of little dots on here. And one of the reasons why My Maid Service pops up first is because Superpages is one of those companies that has an affiliate agreement with HomeAdvisor, and we have a contract with HomeAdvisor. And when I click on this My Maid Service profile on Superpages, what pops up? But our HomeAdvisor page. So this is all our information, including, God, you even have 61 reviews. Not only do you have 5.4 stars, you have twice as many reviews.
There's some tricks to that I will go over in just a minute.
I'm getting jealous now. So you can see that Shawn's got 4.54 stars and 61 reviews. And so if I'm using Superpages, I'm going with Shawn. Not only is he the first thing that pops up on the page, but he's got all these reviews. HomeAdvisor also has this screened and approved badge, which if you want, you can use on your web page. There's a lot of tips and tricks, but this is the same on City Search. One of the things I advertise is that I won the best in City Search for 2 years in a row. Reason why I won the best in City Search is because I had 30-something reviews, which were actually from HomeAdvisor. Now, unfortunately, City Search stopped giving the Best of awards about 2 years ago, which is a bummer. But for a while there, I could say that I won the Best in City award, and to be honest, it was all from HomeAdvisor reviews. So those reviews are really, really important because it doesn't just help you get HomeAdvisor clients, they can show up all over the internet. So how do you get twice as many reviews as me, even though I've been in business 1 year longer and I'm bigger?
Well, we very religiously go through when we know that a tech has made a connection with a client. And I say that, not lightly. We really are in the relationship building business just as much as we are the house cleaning business. And when our tech feels like they've really, hit it off with a particular client, they're really happy with the job that we're doing, we always go back if it's a Service Magic client and request that they give us a review, and they almost always do. One of the other things about Service Magic is that, although it is difficult to reach a live human being trying to go through the website, if you just call them up, you can generally reach someone pretty easily. Negative reviews, you want to have some, you obviously don't want to have too many, but every once in a while you encounter a client that's just extremely unhappy. And in those cases, rather than fight with them, very often we just refund monies and walk away. I mean, it's just a decision we all make as business owners. Well, the interesting thing about Service Magic is that I've always been able to go to them and say, look, we refunded this person their money. They did not pay for the service. It's not fair that I have a negative rating on my site. They agree with me every time, and they remove the review. So, one of the things you can do as a business owner is really look at this and say, when I look at, the total revenue of my business, is it really worth the $250 that I'm demanding that this, that this person pay me for a job that she said I didn't do very well, or do we just refund the money, get the, the rating removed from my Service Magic listings so that they don't appear all over the web? Because remember, as Derek just said, it's not just Service Magic, it's all over the internet. These ratings are being grabbed and reposted everywhere. It's a pretty easy decision. One bad rating can really mess things up for you. 2 bad ratings are even worse, 3 worse than that. And when you can avoid those, even if they're a little bit costly, it's really important to do that for the future of your business, I think.
Yep. And like I said, for some reason the internet decided to slow down here, but what I've pulled up is this is the form email which gets generated through HomeAdvisor and is sent to the client. And you can see there's just a great big button that they press that says submit a rating. You can, of course, customize this and make it say what you want to say, but having that link that automatically logs them in, automatically takes them to the review page, greatly increases the chance of you getting a review versus the, hey, can you go to Google and try to find my page and look us up and log in and leave a review? So we get many more reviews here than we do anywhere else. Right. I work really hard to get reviews on Google, and I think I have 11. I don't try that hard on HomeAdvisor, and I've got 36. So it really works really, really well when it can link right in and it's integrated into the system like this. Okay?
Having the most reviews when someone is looking at you and 3 other companies and trying to make a decision, the other 3 companies have 10 or fewer reviews and you have 61, is a lot of weight towards who they're going to decide on who they want to do business with first. That's just been our experience. Our closure rate has gone up as we've gotten to be an older company and as we've gotten more ratings.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely benefits to tenure. So another thing to talk about, once again, sort of the nature of web leads that I really can't stress enough. leads over the internet are different than leads that you get directly. And this is the same for the leads you get on your website. I was visiting someone else who owned has $1 million cleaning service just like mine, and she was telling me that she doesn't like leads over on her website because she never converts them. She's like, yeah, half the time they're bogus anyway. And once again, over the internet, the consumers are very early in the process. They're just kind of curious, what does it cost? And those consumers prefer the internet because they don't feel like they're going to be sold. They're in control of the experience. So if I'm not ready to buy yet and I'm just kind of curious, I'm going to go on the internet because you can't push me. You can't give me a special that's going to go away in 2 days. I can control the experience more. So they go on the internet to request their leads. And what's interesting about that is we get really upset about that because they're not ready to book tomorrow. And when you call them, they don't answer the phone because they didn't want you to call them. They just want to know roughly how much does a cleaning service cost. They didn't expect a phone call. But what's good about this is these are people who are legitimately interested. They didn't fill the form out on your website because they have infinite free time and just thought it'd be kicks to put a bad lead in. They just didn't want to be bothered yet because they aren't there yet. They're so early in the process, but that's not bad. They don't know anything about residential cleaning services. They don't have any preconceived notions of what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So if you stay in regular contact with these people and send them newsletters, tell them how great you are, send them things like 5 questions you should ask or 5 questions you should ask before you hire a cleaning service. Those are the people that are looking for that type of stuff because they don't know anything. They're just curious. And that's the 20% that I book 6 to 18 months after they put in the home advisor lead. Because when they put the lead in, they weren't ready. Often, I'm pregnant and I'm due in 6 months. I know I'm going to need a cleaning service, but I'm not ready yet. I was just curious how much this was going to cost. I'm trying to get my budget together. And they'll flat out tell you that. As I showed you earlier, Home Advisor has an option which says what stage are you in, and one of them is ready to hire. Another one says planning and budgeting. If they tell you they're in the planning and budgeting phase, don't get mad about that. That just means you have earlier contact with them than anyone else, and you can shape their view of the world.
Okay, something else I want to say about that, and it's something that you really haven't highlighted a lot yet, Derek, and I don't know if you're going to talk about it a little bit later in your presentation, but, you know, the thing about Service Magic leads and any internet lead versus some of the other advertising forms that we all, you know, have paid for over the years is that, you know, the trigger for them to buy has already been hit. And what I mean by that is when someone comes to your website, whether it's through Service Magic or they've looked you up online, they've already made some sort of a decision in their mind. I'm going to need maid service tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. I need someone to clean my house. Whether the house is dirty or not, they've made a decision in their mind that they are shopping for a maid service. That's different in my view, and I think worth more money, and why I'm willing to pay Service Magic a little more, Home Advisor, I keep saying Service Magic, I'm sorry, Home Advisor a little more, is because, you know, if you run an ad in your local Coupon Saver magazine, your local Valpak, something like that, that's a chance advertisement. Someone is going to maybe open that envelope. Someone's maybe going to finger through all 50 of those coupons and, oh, look, here's a coupon for maid service. Well, I might be interested in maid service. That's somebody who you made a sales pitch to who didn't even have maid service on the brain, and that's why your conversion rate is so low and why, you know, you spend so much money to hit so many people to get so few results. I think the trigger with your online folks is already been keyed in that these folks know what they want. They've already defined the need. They just need somebody to sell them on, you know, when they want to get started. That's why I like online leads more than just about any other, because they've already made the decision that they need service, and they've gone searching for a provider of that service. That's exactly the type of person I'm looking for.
Right, the ones who check ready to hire. There are others that are in planning and budgeting phase. So when they tell you what phase they're in, listen to them. They're telling you, hey, I'm just budgeting, not ready to book yet. That's right, but even though they're budgeting, they've still made the decision that they want maid service. They're just researching their options. Someone who gets a coupon in the mail wasn't even thinking about maid service until they looked at your coupon. That's a different type of consumer. It's a different type of customer. It requires a different sort of a sales pitch. The other thing that I really want to encourage you guys on, because I go to the conventions and I hear this all the time, is there's something visceral and emotional about getting charged $20 for each lead. And as a result, I've talked to multiple people that tell me things like, I was only winning 1 out of 10 leads, so I canceled the whole darn thing out. You know, I kept getting charged $20 for bad leads. And then I'd be like, oh, what's your best source of advertising? Oh, I do great. I do Valpak. I get 10 leads every time I do that. How much does that cost you? $3,000. I'm like, okay, so you're paying $150 per customer there, yet you get mad at service at HomeAdvisor when you're not converting 1 out of 3 there, which would only cost you $60. So guys, I'm not, you know, there's something very visceral about being charged for each lead. And what my point is, look at the total picture. And there are periods of times where I will not lie, I will lose 10 in a row. I don't know why it happens that way. It just happens. And then there are other times where we get 5, 6 in a row. Try to actually look at a pretty good sample size and look at your net results. And there are also times that I have had to turn off HomeAdvisor. Every now and again, there is some doofus that starts using it and is lowballing and just destroying the market for everyone. You know what? He eventually goes out of business. So I'll turn it off for a month, turn it back on and see what happens. And I can normally tell when that guy went out of business because I start closing more.
Yeah, we're actually encountering that right now. We have a new competitor in our market who's using HomeAdvisor that's beating everyone's pricing. But in the long run, he's not going to be able to do that. So, you know, we've been plugging back in every few weeks and seeing who we're competing with and who we're losing to, because we'll ask folks, hey, if you decided not to go with us, who'd you go with and why? And they'll tell you. You know what, we picked these folks because they were cheaper, or you know what, they do windows and you guys don't. Whatever, that kind of feedback is really important. But the folks that are only price point driven, especially on a service like HomeAdvisor, typically go away in 2 or 3 months because it becomes very expensive for them and they drop.
And what's great, and what I can't stress enough, is that you can turn it off until they go away. When I've got a contract with Angie's List or Yelp or any of those other guys, I have a contract. I'm running an ad every single month. I can't say, listen, there's someone in your right now who's advertising with you that's advertising a stupid low rate, so for the next 2 months, I just need to step away until he realizes how dumb that was. I can, with HomeAdvisor, turn it off for the next 2 months. And I've done that. I've turned off whole areas and just gone back and put my toe back in the water. Normally, it's 3 to 6 months down the road, all of a sudden that person's gone and I start winning a better ratio again. Okay, so any other advice before I get into some of the summary stuff and we open it up for some questions, Shawn?
Not really. HomeAdvisor is really what you make of it. If you manage it, it can work for you. If you manage what you're spending, if you manage which markets you're selling into, if you manage what your closure rates are and try and figure out why you're not closing maybe the number you think you should be, whether you have an underpriced competitor in your market or maybe your sales pitch needs a little work. If you manage it properly, it can do wonders for your business. And you know, like I said in the beginning, the first couple of years, more than 50% of our leads were coming from there because we had no web presence and we had no reputation to speak of. And, yes, I knew you, and yes, you had a 15-year business at that point, but you guys are in Cincinnati, Ohio. That meant nothing in Dallas, Texas. So, it is what you make of it. If you manage it like you manage your business, it should work really well for you.
And like Shawn said, a couple key points just in summary. You want to call the leads back right away. In addition to calling them, you want to email them because these guys contacted you over the web. There's a pretty strong chance they're going to want to communicate over the web. So don't be, hey, they didn't return my phone call, I'm ignoring them. If you don't reach them by phone, send them an email, and eventually they normally do get back to you, sometimes even by email. I've done email quotes with people on HomeAdvisor because they're just the type of people that live on the Internet. You want to turn your leads on and off and use that very diligently. If you're not going to be able to get on the lead right away, by all means turn it off. You're not doing HomeAdvisor a favor to be getting leads at a time when you're not going to return the phone call. That just makes their client mad. If somebody goes to HomeAdvisor and requests 4 quotes and they get 4 companies and none of the companies return their call, they just get upset with things. So HomeAdvisor doesn't want you getting leads if you're not going to call the customer back anyway. Target, use your geographic targeting, and then stay in touch with people. If you don't close them, stay in touch with them over time, use those various tools, and get those reviews in. So
and that can be as something as just having a folder on your desk where you stick a Service Magic lead that you weren't able to close, and you go through that folder once every 6 weeks and call some of those old leads and say, hey, I'm just wondering if you were still looking for service or if that old service worked out. It doesn't have to be a fancy piece of software. It can just be a bin on your desk that you go through on a slow day every 6 or 8 weeks and make some phone calls to people that maybe you weren't able to close. And a lot of times you will convert some of those old leads.
Yeah, that's one of the things. We've got my sales manager in my office has a bonus. She gets a $500 bonus if we hit a certain number of new clients booked every month. And every month, if around the 15th, if we're not looking like we're going to hit that number, she takes out all the old leads and begins calling them. And that's one of her tricks to make sure she hits her bonus every month is if she's looking low, she pulls out all these old leads and starts calling them back. All right, CCA, I'm seeing that we got a whole bunch of questions in, so if you want to do some of the key questions real quick. before we unmute?
Sure. Lots of folks coming up. One that's come up several times has to do with, in addition to Home Advisor, what other lead generation services do you use, such as Angie's List or something else, and what other marketing strategies do you use to complement Home Advisor to make sure that everything's working together for the best benefit?
All right. Well, you give it first shot, Shawn.
Angie's List you brought up is a good one in some markets. Derek and I are a really good example of how that can and can't work. Derek uses Angie's List extensively, and it's a really popular site up in Ohio. Here in the Dallas area, not so much. As long as we've been in business, I think we've got one Angie's List rating. So for us, Angie's List is not that big of a deal. So really, some of those other sites are really going to depend on where you are. If you live in a small town in central Nebraska, maybe not, an Angie's List type site, maybe Craigslist. I had an office manager a couple of years ago before she decided to be a stay-at-home mom who kept telling me, post ads on Craigslist, and I'm like, no, we'll never get clients from there, and the ones that we do are going to want to pay nothing, and they're going to be terrible clients. I couldn't have been more wrong. I let her have free reign for 30 days, and she proved me wrong and booked 7 or 8 clients that month out of Craigslist. She stuck to her guns on our pricing, pitched our core principles, and, we got the kind of clients we were looking for. So, there are lots of options out there. You just have to be willing to try different things. And, just because one thing works for me doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. And as I said, Angie's List is a great example of that. It works really well for Derek. Really doesn't do anything for us.
Yep, like Shawn said, Angie's List is big for us because they actually started in Columbus and moved to Indianapolis. And those who don't know geography, those are both about an hour and a half from Cincinnati. So we're basically on their home turf. So it's always been a big deal for us because there are so many Angie's List subscribers here. At the end of the day, it's great if you can get the natural search and the search engine optimization. But as Shawn said, so much of that depends how long your website's been up, and there's only so many tips and tricks you can do to get around that. And if your website hasn't been live for 2 or 3 years, you should probably be looking at some.
Yeah. The best tip on website optimization I can give you is open your website today, even if it's something you throw together yourself, and then find someone that you know that might know a little bit about keywords and web optimization and throw it up there and make it look as professional as possible. But the longer you are out there, the better you will show up, in the future. I can't say that enough. You want to have a website yesterday.
And those of you that have been listening to my calls long enough, you know that especially early on, I am a monster fan of guerrilla marketing. I love everything from standing on the street corner in a Wonder Woman outfit to, which, by the way, I'm going to have to do in about 6 months because I lost a bet, to wearing uniform shirts, to putting flyers out. I'm a big believer in guerrilla marketing when you're young. So part of it depends on what phase of life your business is in. So that discussion can go a lot of different ways. So what's next, Cece?
I think this one will be a quick one. Can you repeat the part about zip code areas and how to grow your business, defining those?
Yeah, well, I showed it briefly earlier, but Home Advisor's got a map, and what I can do on here is choose which zip codes I want to add into coverage. And one of the great things about these guys is the amount of data they'll give you. You can call Home Advisor and say, hey, I'm thinking of growing my business. Can you tell me how many leads you get for maid service in this list of 24 zip codes? And they'll tell you, which will give you an idea. Do I want to expand north? Do I want to expand south? Because while Home Advisor isn't the entire world of leads, it's definitely a pretty good data source. And this is the map that I pulled up earlier. It's going to take a second because my internet's decided to be grumpy. But once it pops up, you can see geographically all of the areas I cover and all of the areas I don't cover. And when I click on it, it gives me the zip code number, and I can get Home Advisor on the phone while we're doing this and talk this through and say, hey, this cluster of red dots down here in northern Kentucky, how many leads really do come from 41011? And they can tell me. And I'll go, oh, it's not worth it. I don't want to go there. Maybe I want to grow north. How many leads are from 45342? So, and what type of leads? Are they reoccurring? Are they one time? There's not many places I can do that with. When I talk to Valpak, the only thing they'll tell me is how many homes they're going to deliver it to. Home Advisor will tell me by zip code how many leads they got in the last 12 months.
Awesome. A related question, how large is this territory? We've got somebody who's looking to kind of figure out a ratio of size by square mileage and number of leads per square mile kind of thing.
Once again, best thing I can tell you to do that is call Home Advisor. If you're in New York City, your number of leads per mile are going to be very different than you're in Ames, Iowa. So I really can't give you too much guidance on that, but once again, call them and they'll tell you. Say, I'm looking for X many number of leads per month. What is the most compact zip code in this area that I can cover to get that? And they'll help you figure that out. They'll say, all right, well, here's our top 6 lead-generating zip codes. And you can say, great, that's going to be my service area then. I don't need a 25-mile service area. I can do a 10-mile service area. I can't tell you. I can tell you Cincinnati, I have to cover a much bigger area than Shawn does because our yards average half an acre to an acre. And in Dallas, they have these 0 lot line postage stamp size yards. So.
That's true. We have a lot more population. One of the other questions on here that's sort of related to this was, does Home Advisor actually charge a monthly rate, or is it truly just a lead-based fee? Yes, it's a lead-based fee, meaning you pay for every name and phone number that you get, but you can also limit that by putting, a stoppage on it. Like, I only want to spend $100 a month on, exact match leads. Well, the way ServiceMetric breaks that up is they don't just give you 5 $20 leads over the next 2 days, and then for the rest of the month you don't get any. They actually break that up over the entire month. So you're likely to get 1 a week for the entire month. So they look at their average amount of leads for that given area, and they go, okay, we can probably give this guy 1 or 2 this week, and 1 or 2 the next week, and 1 or 2 after that, and that'll use up his budget and spread it out evenly over the entire month. So they're pretty intelligent that way as well, in that they don't blast you full of new clients all in 3 days and then use up your budget and then you have nothing coming in the rest of the month.
And that's what I just pulled up on screen is the page where you adjust your monthly spend. Here in Cincinnati, I'm currently budgeted $800 a month. I normally don't spend that, but I put the budget at $800 a month because I basically want to make sure I get every lead in the city.
Right, but if you were budgeted at $200 a month, you would easily spend that, and you could probably spend that in the first week and a half. But the way Home Advisor does it is it spreads it out over the entire month, so you'll still spend that budgeted amount of money, but they'll, give you the time and the ability to actually get those leads sold and scheduled and booked with your existing staff rather than trying to cram it all into the first few days of the month.
Any other questions so far?
I will ask one. Several people have asked, each time you guys call Home Advisor, how much do they charge you?
Nothing.
Yeah. Yes, when you call to ask them questions, how much does Home Advisor charge you?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Okay. I suspected that was the answer. Apparently, that's not always the case with different business services, but I did want to clarify that for folks.
The only place that I pay for anything with those folks is when I get a lead. That's it. Yeah, and I'm one of those guys that when I turn in a refund request and it's denied via the online tool, I call somebody. So, and they don't charge me for those calls, and I call them a couple times a week. So.
Sounds great. And one came in, when you're trying to define your geographical reach, is there kind of a limit that you would recommend, 10 miles, 25 miles, 50 miles? And what would you base that on as you're trying to determine where to gather leads from?
Once again, I'd have to know a lot more about your geography and where you're at and how big your company is to make that recommendation. When I started, I did a 10-mile radius, and as I've grown, I've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. The tighter you keep your geography, the less money you're going to spend on drive time and gas and car wear and tear. So the answer is as small as you can to hit the number you need to hit. And I can't get much more specific than that without knowing you very well. So. But you always want to try to keep your geographies as tight as possible. That's one of the things that sucks a lot of profit out of our businesses that we don't realize until you sit down and really do the math. If you disagree, Shawn, on anything, let me know. No,
not really. There's not much more I can add to that. I mean, I can throw in the DFW area. We have people crammed in here like sardines. We try and go 20 miles. Maybe 25 on the outside for a weekly client or a client that we would value, but 20 miles is about as far as we want to go. And we're a pretty tightly packed market, but we also overlap our offices on purpose so that we can help each other out in the areas where we share cities.
And it also depends where you are. If you're in Dallas and I have to take LBJ to get to you, it's going to take me forever to get to you. So
right. We consider that also, depending on where you live and what time of day it is. If you're headed towards Dallas in the morning when everybody's going to work, we're not going to be able to get to your house at a reasonable hour. So that sort of depends on.
So yeah, like I said, we can't really get into that.
It's different for everybody, yeah.
But when we talk about geographic targeting, maybe that'll be a call for a future conversation. We're kind of getting into it because we talked about the data you can get from Home Advisor that helps you with that. So. All right, I want to cover just a couple more things, Cece, and then I want to throw it open for the guys from Home Advisor if they have anything to add. They heard we were doing this call and asked if they could come on, probably to make sure I didn't say anything bad about them or misstate anything. They also gave us a little bit of an offer, so I want to hit that here. So give me a second to get caught up. So let me get my website. Presentation events. ISE has worked with Home Advisor and talked with them, and they agreed to set up an ISE-specific type program for us, which includes a couple different things, one of which is a phone number here on the page, which will reach a live person at Home Advisor who is actually currently on this call. So they've got some industry-specific knowledge as it relates to residential cleaning service, how Shawn and I use it. They also offered a bit of a promotion. If you're not currently a customer, they're going to give you waive the enrollment fee, which is normally $99, and they're also going to do $25 off for them, or 25% off market match leads for the next 30 days for anyone who signs up for Home Advisor, which has not previously used it. So that's a promotion which they've made available to our folks. And even if you're already a person who uses Home Advisor, take advantage of that phone number and that contact because they're going to know some of the stuff that Shawn and I just talked about. They're going to know some of the industry-specific stuff. They have my phone number and can call me and say, hey, Derek, on the call you said this, and someone called me about that, and I'm not quite sure what you meant. So you're not reaching some anonymous person in a call center. You're reaching somebody who has now been on this call and has a little bit of background on our industry. And they're going to talk here in just a second, so I'm going to unmute them in a second and come back to this. But I want to do a little bit more ISE housekeeping. ISE, Institute for Service Excellence, we do that webinar the first of every month. I haven't decided what we're doing in February. I think it's Constant Contact, but I'm trying to find another guest speaker on the topic, somebody who I think rocks it. Sort of like my brother does on Home Advisor. The webinars are always free. If you sign up for our newsletter on the website, you will be notified about what we're doing. And then also on our website, I really want to encourage anyone who who needs it. We have a program called Foundations in Business. This is a 6-month coaching and training program that we do only twice a year, and we're just starting a new class in February. If you go to our website, ISE Today, there's a 1-hour webinar where I explain this program, what's included in it, why it takes 6 months, because it's a comprehensive, nuts to bolts, everything you need to create a self-running cleaning service program. And we have 2 of our current alumni who've been through that program on the call that explain it. So that's one of the programs that we actually offer for sale. One of the things I always do in ISE is tell you what I'm trying to sell you. I am not trying to sell you now. And that is we've got a Foundations of Business program, which I can't tell you how great it's been. We've gotten great feedback on it. Watch the webinar. It's a 6-month comprehensive program. And then one of our partners, we work with Modern Cleaning, is doing a free webinar on January 17th on using deionized water. And for those of you who don't know, Modern Cleaning's webinars, they do the 3rd Thursday of every month at 3:30. They've got, Tom likes the alliteration thing, I guess, of 3rd Thursday, 3:30 is when they do their webinars. And this month they're doing it on deionized water. For those who don't know what this is basically where you run water through a process where it removes basically everything from the water, so it's pure water. And water does not like to be in that state. Water's natural tendency is to carry things, and that makes deionized water a really good cleaning agent because the water becomes basically desperate and craving other things to hook on. So Tom is going to talk about deionized water on that and how it works. Once again, it's a free webinar where he's going to talk about the science and technology of it. So CC, I went back to the slide on Home Advisor. If you want to, I think both Brent and Dennis are on the call. If you want to unmute them, they may want to correct anything that I said wrong or throw in some feedback. So let me know when you get that done.
Yeah, I have Brett unmuted. I'm still looking for Dennis.
He might have ended up in as a unnamed caller then because he might have had to use Brett's. But
I got him, I think.
Okay. You guys should be unmuted if there's anything you want to add.
Well, this is Brett Sims with Home Advisor. I work for our national accounts team, and just want to thank you, CC, Derek, Shawn, for all your time in hosting this today. You guys covered really everything extremely well. I mean, you're obviously running efficient businesses, and things that I wanted to touch on today was, ratings and reviews, the importance there, and how to find on that profile page how to request a review. And you guys, definitely displayed that perfectly. Another thing again that Shawn and Derek, both of you guys mentioned, was remarketing to those leads. Any leads that you guys receive, and just kind of to reiterate what you guys already mentioned, it is a pay-per-lead service, so there's no monthly fees, there's no annual fees, and any of those leads you've received, they are stored in a database for you under your profile. So using forms of drip marketing to remarket to those leads, that's completely free to you. You own those leads. Definitely remarket to those leads in the future. If it's 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, a year. Definitely opportunity to win more business. And I think I heard you say, Shawn, they may have not been happy with their first maid service company they chose. Hey, try them again, hit them back up. They may be ready to try to find a new company. But Dennis, did you make it on the line? I don't know if we have Dennis Burns here, but that phone number that you guys...
Dennis sent me a message that he wasn't connected by his headset for speaking.
Okay. Well, what I was just going to mention is Dennis Burns, great sales manager. He's been with our company for over 7 years, and Dennis has handpicked about 4 individuals, if I understand correctly, to work with you guys. Something to point out here that's really, just going back to the questions I heard you mention, CC, on price, and just as far as, areas, and thank you for showing the map there, Derek. For anyone that's interested in using our services, before even signing up, we can put together a very accurate forecast of lead volume. So again, that data that Derek was mentioning, feel free to call that number. Let us know where your areas of work are, what type of services you provide, and we can give you some pretty good numbers, crunch down some numbers for you to let you know what we can do for you to find out if we'll be a compelling marketing channel for you. So again, before even signing up, we can assist you with those forecasts so you at least have a better idea of what we can do for you. But any other questions that anyone has, I guess, while I'm on the line, please feel free to let me know what I can do here.
Brett, I do have one that came in that I think you'd be perfect to answer. A former Service Magic subscriber had found that most of the leads came from small-sized homes. Do you guys capture home size information, and are you able to drill down so that business subscribers can focus on those size homes?
That's a very good question. We do, yes, as far as back on that questionnaire page that you guys all saw, there is an opportunity to tell us as far as the range of square footage of the home. It's not going to break it down to the exact number, but we do have that open text box. So there is the opportunity for the consumer, if they want to share and elaborate, they can do that in the open text box. We're trying to drill it down between 1,500 and 2,500 square feet, 2,500 to 4,000, so on and so forth. I don't have the exact numbers that we're asking. Here we go. Looks like you're going back. Yep, there you go. So 1,500 to 2,500 square feet you can see in the bottom there. There are, I think, about 3 or 4 options there. But again, unless they're putting the exact square footage in the open text box, we do not know the exact square footage.
And one question which has come across a couple different times and been phrased different ways, but I think I finally understand, is some people are asking how many leads do Shawn and I actually get per week. Once again, we're both in pretty major metro areas and have, in my case, 5 or 6 different services that I do. So I don't want to promise anyone can get this many, and it varies. There's seasonality to our business, but I get anywhere from 4 to 12 a week. Shawn, what do you typically end up with?
Yeah, I'm right in there. My budget for Home Advisor is $1,000 a month, and we spend almost all of that every month.
Which means you're typically getting around the...
Whatever that breaks down to, divide that by 20, and then divide it by 4 weeks, and then you're probably 10 to 12 leads a week, something like that.
And we normally end up close to $700, so we're getting more like 35 leads a month. So I'd say our average is more in the 9 range. But like this last week, I got 11 leads, so there was a bit of an after-Christmas surge.
Yeah, it depends on the time of year, too. This is, in fact, if you look at some of the data that Home Advisor can share with you about historically busy and not so busy times of year, this time of year you just see a huge drop off in the volume of calls that they get from people requesting maid service. It's cut almost in half, if not worse than half. So there is some seasonality in what we do. We all know that, but Home Advisor folks actually track that, and you can see it.
Yeah, they actually shared some of that data with me. We just had so much to try to squeeze in a call today that I decided maybe we would do that as some infographics and information we send out in the future. All right, Cece, do you want to try to unmute people? Do you have some more questions? What do you want to do? You're in control.
I do have one more question while I'm unmuting folks. When it comes to reporting each month, can an account representative break down the number of leads by a variety of different categories, different information, such as zip codes, such as square footage of homes, number of leads per, your 3 square footage categories, number of leads per zip code, and things like that?
That's for you, Brett.
Yeah, that's a Brett question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you say the question one more time?
Well, her question is, we've talked some of the stuff that you guys can share some data with us. That's when you're going to have to remute. Okay, they want to know how granular we can get it. Could they, for example, ask you to give them leads, but by square footage for things like that, so people have an idea of the size of the houses and things like that?
Or she asked about reporting. Can you guys give custom reporting, like, hey, can I get a report from you guys once a week or once every 2 weeks about how many leads I'm getting in certain zip codes so that I can see that certain areas are busier than others, something like that. Brett?
He's thinking. You guys, we managed to...
That should help. Brett, are you back with us?
I think so. Can you guys hear me okay?
There we go, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Muted him.
No problem. No, what I was just saying is, in a sense, yes, we're going to share that information as much as we can in their profile as far as what type of service it is. Really the big thing when they're choosing what type of leads they want to receive is going to go back to those 2 main things. Areas of work as far as within their territory, getting those zip codes, and then what type of services they'd like to receive leads for. Breaking it down just by certain square footage, that I'd have to double check on. I don't have an exact answer for that, but these are all vetting tools that we're using in the questionnaire to break that down into that lead. We're actually processing about only 10% that actually turn into a lead when they go through the questionnaire. So what I'm saying here is about 90% of those visitors that are coming through that questionnaire are actually dropping off, which is okay. We're hoping to lose the looky-loos, but we're telling them, hey, we need all contact information: name, phone number, email, address, everything. Those questions we're finding through those 4 pages of the questionnaire, we see different drop-off rates throughout the questionnaire. But as far as being able to decipher if you want to receive leads only for over 2,500 square feet, I don't think there is a way of doing that, but I'll double check that for you guys.
Yeah, and I'm not sure she necessarily even needs to know that. Certain people service different size homes, so for targeting purposes, I think is what they're poking at. For example, Shawn and I use solo cleaning companies, meaning we only send 1 cleaner to a house. We typically do well in 2,500 square foot and less houses.
Gotcha, okay.
Shawn and I don't typically do good in big houses. Now, there's exception to the rules, but normally people don't like us in their house more than 4 hours. Now, someone who runs a 4-person team doesn't like apartments. Putting 4 people in an apartment is darn inconvenient. Great for me, bad for them. So that's just some examples. Different companies run different team size, which means we hit different size homes that we hit. If Home Advisor can help you with at some point in the future, ISE will do a webinar on demographic research and ways that I can help you figure out which homes, which zip codes the homes you are looking for are in, independent of that. So that'll be some discussion.
It's so unique to each area, as you mentioned before, and one thing actually you just reminded me, you were talking about price on the leads. We actually are on a geo-pricing model. So leads in, downtown Chicago, it's more expensive for Home Advisor to advertise in that area. So your cost per lead is going to be slightly more than, let's say, a Sioux Falls, South Dakota, much smaller, maybe 100,000 person town versus million. So that is actually how the pricing can vary. But again, when you guys contact us and you're talking to Dennis's team, we can put together that forecast for you and let you know exactly what those leads will cost in your area of business.
Yeah, that's why I was very clear. That was for Cincinnati. Shawn and I, Cincinnati and Dallas, seem to have identical prices, probably because they're both mid-tier, large, but not massively expensive markets. But yeah, if you're in Washington, New York City, Chicago, maybe a little bit more. If you're in Ames, Iowa, maybe a little bit less. So the price we share is probably right in the middle.
Yep. And just so nobody feels like they're going into it blindly, feel free to ask because we'll be able to help you with that and let you know exactly what you're looking at for price per lead. Any other questions you guys have?
And this would be a question for Shawn, Derek, or Brett. Are there phrases or topics that you suggest companies use when their first conversation with Home Advisor that makes the conversation, makes that initial setup go more smoothly and quickly?
Shawn,
I'll let you answer, guys, unless, I can make suggestions, but you guys are doing this yourself.
Yeah, now you're talking about sales, but I think that right out of the gate, the most important thing you can do is just say, hi, how can we help you today? What can we do for you today? Remember, what we do is, we clean people's houses, but as you all know, everybody's house is different, and everybody has a different idea of what a clean house should look like at the end of the day. Everyone has their preferences and pet peeves. It's really important, I think, more than anything else. We always talk about, our core principles as a company to the customer and everything, but really it's about listening to what the customer wants and explaining to them how you can or can't meet that need. I think that's been our most important thing that we teach the people that do quotes at our businesses. You really need to not worry about talking so much about what we do until you've heard about what the customer wants, and then you can address those needs in your sales pitch.
Shawn, let me ask you this: when you follow up on a lead, you mention, hey, like when you're first getting that first opportunity to speak to the consumer, are you mentioning, hey, we received your information via Home Advisor? Are you calling that out?
When we do get that, partially because sometimes somebody's already beat us to the punch, and we want to explain to them, hey, we're calling you because you may not be aware of this, but we're one of the 3 or 4 people whose information that you may not have opened your email yet and seen, but you're going to receive calls from us and maybe 1 or 2 other people. So they're kind of aware that, oh, yeah, I just talked to this other company, or, oh, okay, well, you guys are the first, and I might get more calls. Okay, it kind of helps. Yeah.
Yep.
So hey, my name is Shawn Christian from My Maid Service, and we got your name and number from Home Advisor. You just filled out some information requesting a quote on your home. What can I do for you today?
Yeah, we say the same basic thing. We always lead off with, this is Derek with My Maid Service. We got a request through Home Advisor that you were looking for an estimate on your home. If they don't answer, we explain that we do the estimates on the phone. They take 3 to 5 minutes when they can call us back. And then I've got an email that's custom written. It says basically the same thing, sort of reminding them where they heard of us from. If I just call and say, hey, you needed a lead, they're like, you needed a quote? They're like, who are you? So I always try to lead off in the first sentence of, hi, I work for My Maid Service. I'm calling because I got a lead request through Home Advisor that said you were looking for some pricing on your home. And they go, oh, yeah, I did just submit that. Wow, that was fast. And we go,
yeah,
okay,
which goes back to why you want to call them quickly, by the way. If you wait until the next day to call them back, you're not front of mind with the customer anymore, and they're going to go, you're with who? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, we already chose somebody else, thanks. That's how that conversation is going to go 9 out of 10 times. So you really want to call them back.
I was talking to Derek not long about this, but I was working with another customer, and they were telling me they had a really good idea. Whenever they had any promotions and they got a voicemail, part of their voicemail was really, I thought, clever as far as how they left it. And it basically said, hey, this is so-and-so calling you back regarding your Home Advisor request for maid service. When you call back, don't forget to mention the special offer. Look forward to speaking with you, and they left their contact information. And what they had was a special offer in place. But, in this day, in this age of the economy right now, people are not leaving money on the table. And that, I thought, was really smart because they were giving that person a reason to call back. They wanted to learn more about the special offer. And a great way to, again, get, a return phone call right back.
Sounds great, guys. Listen, Derek, could you flash up the way that folks can contact Home Advisor again? Because we're about 20 minutes into our second hour here, and some folks have had to leave already. We do still have a number of questions, one specifically for Brett, I think. we've got somebody who really, really just wants to drill down into very highly specific pieces of information beyond the zip code. Do you go into neighborhood? Do you go into sections of neighborhood? And these are just some examples, but the general question is, how do you group and measure lead volume in a certain area within a zip code? Do you go that small?
Well, as far as the data, as far as algorithm and all that, I mean, really what we're basing it off of is a 12-month picture. So we're looking at all leads in that particular zip code, and we're drilling it down to a 12-month picture. We can compare that, of course, with previous years as well, but what we're looking at is current 12-month period, which I think I heard Derek mention before. And I know you guys were going pretty far over the hour here on the webinar, so just to chime in here and mention, I mean, if you guys have any additional questions even after this call, feel free to email Dennis. You can see his email address there at the bottom. I'm sorry that he wasn't able to speak on this call, but also you can email me. My email address is there at the very bottom. But as far as drilling that down, as far as that algorithm and the data that we're looking at, if that answers our question, we're looking at that 12-month in that particular zip code.
That sounds great. Thank you, Derek, for getting that information back up on the screen. And I've also sent the message by chat to remind everybody that it is free to call Home Advisor and ask every single one of these questions as many times and in as many ways as you need to get your questions answered before you make a purchase decision. I've had some delightful conversations with Brett and look forward to getting to know Dennis now as well, since I've not spoken with him. Brett or Derek or Shawn, any final comments or notes before we sign off today?
No, we actually just lost Shawn there. He warned us at the beginning that his phone was only going to be good for a little while, and I think we just discovered it lasts about 90 minutes. So he just shot me a text message, and I told him not to worry about calling in. No, I mean, my thing that I really want to encourage you guys with Home Advisor is you got to experiment, you got to play with it. A lot of people have tried it, because I go to conventions, and I tell people I use it, and they go, oh, I tried them, they sucked. I'm like, really? Because I have $2 million offices, and I get a half to a third of my business from them. So they seem to work pretty good for me. Couple things. Try different geographies. Try some of the targeting. If you're not going to be able to call them back right away, turn the leads off, all those type of things we talked about. If you just turn it on and forget it, just like a lot of other types of marketing, you're not going to be as happy as if you modify it and change it. You know, some of you have said that you typically only got small houses when you did Home Advisor. If that's not who you serviced, I would probably shut those zip codes on and turn some other zip codes on and see what type of leads you get from those different zip codes. And that's one of the things why I did like these guys. And we didn't get into it too much on the call, but they are also one of my favorite lead sources because they're the only thing I can turn on and off. And any of you who've taken any of my classes where I talk strategy is I spend a lot of time every month evaluating how my business is doing, and there's not many things that I can turn up and down. So if I'm doing really well and I'm ahead of goal, I actually turn these guys down a little bit because I don't need as many leads, and I can. If on the flip side I am not happy on how my business is doing, I open up more zip codes, I up my monthly dollar spend. There's a lot of things I can do to up the amount of leads I get. And every single month I kind of make a decision with my team of what do I want to do with these guys. Now, we have for the last year been pretty much full throttle, but back in 2010 and 2011, when we weren't growing quite wanting to get as many leads from them, we were tweaking it and changing it all the time. So that's one of my big things is play with it, change it, move the zip codes around, add things, remove things. I learned things by using them that I didn't realize when I first started. For example, there's an area here in Cincinnati called Indian Hill, which is a very snooty, high-end neighborhood. Would have thought that was a great source for leads, but it was actually terrible. So I learned early on to turn that off and turned on some areas that I thought would be bad and turned out to be great, you know. So experiment and play with it. There's not many things you can play with zip codes and different things like you can with these guys.
Yeah, the system is extremely flexible as far as turning those leads on and off. Often I'll use the analogy of a faucet. I mean, if you want to take a vacation and turn those leads completely off and have them started up right when you return back to business, I think Shawn mentioned that briefly as far as turning your leads on and off. We're flexible. That can be manned and operated however you'd like to run your business. But really, you know, you guys, in closing, what I wanted to mention is just how big maid service and cleaning services is for Home Advisor. it is a huge, huge consumer request lead source for us. We have many, many visitors that are coming from maid service, carpet and fabric cleaning, number of different cleaning services. It's really a big category for us. But the other thing I wanted to mention really is just the trust. We have a lot of consumers that are finding us through search, but we're actually seeing growing numbers because we're finding that others are using us for maybe roofing or plumbing or whatever that may be. But they feel like they can return back to us because they know they're getting a pre-screened, approved consultant to work with them, a contractor, whatever it may be. But they're looking for someone that they can trust. They've returned to Home Advisor because they've used this before, and they know they have a professional to work with. The other thing that I think is real big just to point out is we are completely free. Lastly, I just wanted to let everyone know, as of January the 2nd, we actually just started a large television ad campaign. So you're going to be seeing us more and more on TV now, and that was just started this last week. But really trying to grow that Home Advisor name, again, formerly Service Magic, as we're going forward.
And we've gotten some questions in about, we mentioned keeping in touch with leads in the long run and best practice there, what we do and when. I mentioned we were doing a series of calls. We're going to be talking about CRM applications. At ISE, we use an application called Sugar. In my personal business, we use an application called Infusionsoft. We will probably do some presentations on those, the pros and cons of both, which is the type of application that helps you stay in touch with consumers. We're also going to do another presentation at some point in the future on Constant Contact. So I could talk for an hour to 2 hours on how to nurture leads and what to do. I can't really answer it on the call today. But if you see tools of the trade and it says CRM or Infusionsoft or Constant Contact, and that for me is where the next step for a Home Advisor lead is they get dropped into those systems. So when you see those things coming up in the next couple months, if you have questions, you'll want to be on those calls.
Okay, guys, thanks so much. This has been a fantastic call, and we are going to sign off for this month.
Thank you again for everyone for your time today, and we look forward to working with you.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.